I have a very interesting match in my opinion, using the budget version of Amethyst Steel, which I must say I have become much more of a fan of this color combination the more I use it. And as you can see from this mulligan, we're using some of the new cards in Steel. I don't think that song, And Then Along Came Zeus, will be a budget option necessarily, but I did take out the queens from my original deck list video, which was posted in the description, or is posted in the description, and opted to test this card out instead in the meantime. My opponent is playing Ruby Amethyst and we are going second, and what you're going to see in this matchup is the insane amount of draw power that this deck has, and the amount of board manipulation, almost like a game of chess, that we're going to be able to play here in order to play around, be prepared, and bait out the opponent's, I guess, board wipes, since there are no real interruptions that this game has as of yet. Now my opponent is using some of the new cards from Into the Inklands. The Diablo combos with the Maleficent in order for them to look at the top card and kind of manipulate their draw a little bit off this Maleficent Sorceress, which is kind of cool. However, overall, I do think it's still weaker than playing the 1/3 drop, as well as playing Snake on turn 2. Now the opponent is on Arthur here, in which you would expect them to also be playing, LeFou, in which you would expect them to be playing Arthur in order to combo with it, but I didn't actually see an Arthur in this match, so I'll just get that out of the way now. Despite that, we are behind on tempo, and playing against Ruby Amethyst is always an uphill battle, especially when you go second, because the deck just maintains advantage and just keeps on questing. Then they don't really care if you out their resources because they're just drawing so many cards. So in this instance, I am able to clear up the opponent's board a little bit. I opt to use one of my smashes just to slow the opponent's tempo down so that they can't Sing of Friends if they have it. And they opt to establish a goat here, which is manageable. And then they think about what they want to do, and they opt to clear my snake off the field. And this is a much more manageable board state. The goat does represent 3 lore for the opponent though, which is wild. They play it, they get a lore, they're going to be able to quest with it and get a lore, and then when it leaves the field, they get an additional lore. And I'm just hoping that the opponent doesn't have a bounce card to get this back to their hand, and then I have to deal with that cycle all over again. I can smash it technically, but that's just not a great spot for me. And knowing that the opponent is on Ruby Amethyst and that smash is one of my only interactions in order to out a Minnie Mouse Surfer, I need to try to keep that smash for when it becomes a little bit more relevant if the Minnie Mouse Surfers start to drop. So here I can utilize the crab on the Merlin Rabbit in order to take out the goat, kind of like what I explained in my deck list video, where you want to be able to have an alternative way of taking out cards aside from just like using actions on them. And the opponent establishes an Eric, and this is really good for me here because I can use my crab in order to crash into the goat, clear my field, and then I have to smash away the Eric. Otherwise, it's going to get advantage when I try to banish it with the challenge, and it quests for 2 as well. The opponent gives me a big tell in just drawing and passing turn, indicating that they're either on a lot of removal and or on inkables. So we're going to go ahead and establish cards that replace themselves and or have some advantage, because if the opponent is sitting on something like a Lady Tremaine, we want to be able to say, whatever you're going to out has already got its value. If I out the goat, I've gained 2 lore. If I out the Maleficent, it's already replaced itself. The opponent opts to ink a LeFou and then continues to pass their turn, and I was just like, wow, we're going to be able to draw some cards off of that Friends on the other side. And on 8 ink now, we're going to be able to use the snake to bounce back goat and then establish a Yzma in order to put the snake back into the deck and draw 2. So you can see the board control and hand management that we're able to utilize with this deck. And this is important to note because, like I said, the opponent is likely sitting on removal. Here you can see a Dragonfire, which is a tech option that is becoming a little bit more popular from what I've seen. But if they're sitting on a Be Prepared, we don't want our board to be too wide so that we get board wiped and lose advantage. And we want to make sure we're keeping up with the card advantage as well. So there you can see me Yzma away the Maleficent to draw 2 and then snake the Yzma back to hand to protect it, because there's no way the opponent is going to Be Prepared a Madam Mim snake. And if they want to Tremaine this or something, that's totally acceptable as well. The other thing I will say in this matchup, because the Steel deck is a little slower with the lack of the Shift Tinkerbell, because as I mentioned before, we are playing Kronk instead. And even the builds that do play the Tinkerbell, the Giant Fairy, they don't usually play the Small Tink anyways anymore. But we want to be able to play cards that have immediate impact. So here you can see me constantly utilizing the Yzma and the Snake in order to draw cards, and having the Kronk sit on the field for a turn just to hope that we can utilize it with the Pinocchio is likely not feasible because the Kronk will just get outed before we can even attempt to use it. So for that reason, I've opted to ink it, whereas normally it would be a good option to control the board, similar to what you saw in that Sapphire Steel match if you checked out my first video on this deck. The opponent played one of the new actions in order to arrange the top cards of their deck and gain a lore, but in this very passive environment, we are going to be able to catch up to the opponent lore-wise. And like I mentioned, we were playing slow for a reason. Yes, we could have attempted to go a little bit more of an aggro strategy and close the gap on the lore a little bit quicker, but then we were playing heavily into a be prepared, and given how much the opponent is trying to draw, which is weird because I'm thinking like, are they just trying to keep up with me, or are they actually digging for cards that they need? But I'm putting them on having at least 2 be prepared at this point, and so that's why I'm playing a little bit safer and trying to control the board state on my own side myself by not overextending. Now the opponent's play of Rabbit and Fox here, while it does net them card advantage, they leave my board untouched, which allows me to quest ahead to 11 and then drop the unexpected Purple Dragon, getting the Yzma back to hand and the Goat once again. The amount of times I've recycled this Yzma for insane amounts of draw is just wild. This will definitely bait out the Be Prepared though, because they absolutely cannot let this Madam Mim Purple Dragon quest. And as I mentioned, just like in the previous video, the Madam Mim Purple Dragon will absolutely bait out removal if the opponent has it. And if they don't have it, it's a game-ending card. So I think Madam Mim Purple Dragon is a little slept on here. Once again, you can see its massive utility in bouncing back Goat and the Yzma, which now we're able to utilize once again by by playing the Yzma, throwing a card back into the deck, and drawing 2 cards. And then knowing that I'm on Goat, this Mim Fox is threatening to go to 17, which is significant because the Goat will put me at 18, and then cycling the Goat with the Yzma most likely will put me at 19. So the opponent establishes even more draw and finally a Mini Surfer, and that smash that I've been holding since like the beginning of the game is finally going to get some use because we have to out the Mini Surfer with that. I'm thinking here, I'm like, yeah, okay, I can drop Yzma and still play the smash. We're going to put back Goat, which is questionable. You could argue you want to keep Goat on field, but it's fine. We're going to smash the Minnie Mouse, leaving the opponent on 2 lore, but they do have a Rabbit that can be bounced and or banished for a card draw here. They're going to quest for 2 and then once again drop their I don't know if that's their second or their third Be Prepared. They're drawing off Rabbit, ink a Snake, and then passing turn. A Rabbit draw here is really strong because, again, it's threatening game just in and of itself. We're going to hard cast the Friends and then just play out a Donald. No sense in putting it in Exerted where it's susceptible to a Maui. So we just drop it, and this, again, plays around a Tremaine. The opponent has to have another Be Prepared or... yeah, Maleficent Dragon in order to out... well, nah, Maleficent Dragon wouldn't even do it, right? Because we still quest for 1 and that's game. So I think that's their third Be Prepared. Third or fourth, right? I think it's their third, though. But we're going to be able to start utilizing the Pinocchio here and just keeping the opponent off of their cycling cards and keeping them from questing with the Rabbit. So we once again just are threatening game on board by just overextending a slightly... yeah, maybe I shouldn't have overextended this much, because the only thing that really deals with 2 characters at once is Be Prepared, and there's the 4th Be Prepared by the opponent. So playing through 4 Be Prepareds, which is crazy. Yeah, I checked their graveyard and you can see there are 2 Rabbits, 4 Be Prepareds. That is wild. Being able to play through that and still win against Ruby Amethyst is crazy. They're going to drop a Maleficent and a Snake to bounce the Maleficent, and that's kind of all they can do now. We're going to go ahead and draw Goat, and that's when I give them the well played. Wanted to test this spell out, I guess, or this action. Just smash or not smash, but, you know, Zeus the opponent's field, and then win the game with the Goat. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, that's going to wrap it up. And let me know in the comment section what else you want to see. But Quantum is out.